ATVs. So what I've got here is a EGL 125. It's one of the Chinese four-wheelers. It's not terrible. Yeah, I bought these things for my kids to see if they would get into riding ATVs before I spent a bunch of money on name brand stuff and some really good ones like Polaris and Kawasaki or whatever. And as expected, they like to ride them, and they have rode these things literally into the dirt. So the question is, are they worth buying? Is it worth going cheap versus jumping head first into a name brand with a good warranty behind it and all that good stuff? So it's a yes and no answer. Okay, so on one hand, you're saving money. On the other hand, you're probably spending more time fixing them than anything. I bought these things brand new because I was figuring I don't want to have to work on them as much. I don't want to have to get something used and probably, you know, the person selling it don't tell you all the stuff that's wrong with it, and you end up getting a lemon out of it, and your kids can't enjoy it because you're too busy fixing the thing continuously. Well, I was kind of surprised on that. That was my bad. I have literally had to work on these things after the first 30 days of owning them. The first couple times I took them back to the dealer and they fixed it. I had carburetor issues on one, electrical issues on the other one. You know, it's just one thing after the other. Now, on the flip side, they are fairly cheap. I mean, really cheap actually to fix. Most of the parts being from China, they're you know, a few bucks for this, that. A carburetor's like 25 bucks. You know, the little switches or whatever is, you know, $5, $10, $11, whatever. So if you don't mind working on them continuously, then it may not be such a big deal to you. But to me, I want to get them out. I want to rip through the trails. I don't want to have my kids breaking down or I'm breaking down, and Coachella just have to drag them in here and fix them. Now, what I will say about them is the shocks on these things are super stiff. I'm a little over 250, and this 125 right here can carry my weight with no problem down any trail, and there's little give, if anything at all. And overall, if you take the governor off of them, it rips pretty good. I ain't gonna lie. I would say it's not, you know, the greatest thing if you're comparing it to a name brand, but, you know, if you just want something to scoot down the trails with, I wouldn't take this on something where you're going to jump it. I don't think it would hold up too very well for that. Now, what I will say on another thing is, when you buy them, ride them for about an hour or so and go back through the entire bike, torque down every bolt, because when I got these things within a day or so, the engine bolts came loose. I mean, the rear axle bolts came loose. Just the whole thing just rattled itself loose. So I would definitely, you know, go through and double check, triple check everything. A lot of the screws and bolts did not have Loctite on them, so you'll probably need to, you know, double check on that also. But what we're going to do today is we're going to, let's see where it's at. We're going to replace this ignition switch. Now these things, this is the fourth one I've put on. They're really cheap. They're super easy to fix. I wasn't even going to make a video about this because it's like a 5-minute job to snap it in and you're done. But I don't see a lot of videos that really show the simple stuff and why you would need to replace it. I mean, you end up finding out later, but if you don't crack this piece right here open, most of the time you won't even know why the bike's not turning over, why there's no power going to it. You'll probably do like I did, start with the battery, run all the way through the wiring harness, and let's face it, that's time consuming. So what we got here, is there's 3 wires that go on the inside of this piece right here. And the sorters in them are so weak that the vibration from the bike going through the trails will actually break the sorters loose. So, and the one I'm fixing to take off, I'll show you. Normally what I would do is just solder the wires back together. But unfortunately I let somebody borrow my soldering gun, and don't remember who, because I don't solder that much stuff. So we're going to go ahead and snatch this one off, and I'll show you the brake, and we'll put this one on and see if it cranks back up. Now what you got here is this is of course where it's at, and you just track this wire up under here, and you just follow it to where it hooks up. To where it runs right up under here. I'm going to try to do this without taking this front piece off here. If you do end up having to take this off, you know, you just pop all these little screws here out, here, all the way around. You just pop that whole piece off. Matter of fact, we may end up taking just this piece here off just so we can get in there and see. So let's do that. Okay, so to remove these bolts, you're going to need a 3/16 Torx and an extension just to get down through the handlebars here. Looks like there's only 2 on the top. And there we go, pops right off. We're just going to trace this wire, and right there it is. Just that little clip right there. So that's all it is. Just trace this up under this plate cover here and pop it out from there. And that's pretty much all it is. Okay, so right up in here is what I was talking about. See all those solder spots? Just a vibration from this thing going through the trails, especially if you ride it hard. And my girls, they like to get out here and see how fast and hard they can ride these things. So the vibration just breaks those wires loose from the solder. And once you get that, you got no power to the whole thing. And one way to know whether these are going out, and before you track down all the wires from the battery forward, is when it's in there, if you can reach up under there and squeeze this together and your lights come on, then you'll know these sorters are going bad, or either they're broke and barely connecting. Now, the upside is that these things are dirt cheap. I bought a 2-pack of them with the keys and everything, of course, for like $8 on eBay. So you could take the time to solder them back together, and it'll last probably the lifetime of the bike. Or you can just buy 2. They come in 2-packs. I've seen them in 4-packs. And just have them on hand, because they're so easy to just pop this cover off and just unplug it from here and run a new one. It's like 5 minutes worth of work versus, you know, pulling the wires out, resoldering everything, and then putting it back in. I mean, really, it's up to the person who does it. Like I said, these are cheap. I'm not going to say they're not durable. They're definitely durable. But for, I think on this one, because this is supposed to be like the race model of the Chinese bikes, I think this one was like $1,500, maybe just a little over. I know the prices vary whatever state you're from. And I bought this one already assembled, so I didn't buy the crate kit where you got to assemble it yourself, which you save a little bit of money if you get the kit where you assemble it yourself. And since you technically have to go through this thing anyway to make sure everything's torqued down like it's supposed to and it ain't gonna fall apart while you're riding it down the trail, it would probably be a better idea to get the kit, so that way when you put it together the first time, you know everything's put together like it should be. So that's my 2 cents on it. So let's go ahead and get this switch in. Okay, so what we did is just run it through here, up under this, and just plug it right back in there. Extremely easy. So let's turn the key on. There we go, we got our power back. Alright, so let's pop this cover back on and see if it'll start. We got all of our lights back on, so that's a good sign. Well, there we go. So, in a nutshell, cheap to work on, cheap bike. If you don't mind working on them fairly continuously, then go for it. But if you think, especially if you're buying them for your kids, if you think that they're really going to get into it, I would save the money, get a name brand machine, and not have to worry about continuously fixing something. Like I said in the beginning of the video, these were starter machines for my kids, just to see if they would even grasp a hold of the sport, and they took off running. So I will be upgrading them to better machines soon, and when I do, I'll make a video of those and we'll compare them side by side. But for right now, these suit the need, and aside from a lot of maintenance, they're not too bad. So that's my opinion, and hopefully this helps somebody out. So let's hit the trails. See ya.